Hello, everybody. Welcome to LettermenRow.com. I am Jeremy Birmingham. This is Birminology. We are talking to Ohio State recruiting targets from around the country. Today, we are welcoming in 2023 offensive lineman Payton Kirkland, big-time offensive tackle prospect from Florida by way of Chicago. Payton recently visited Ohio State for the second time, and I wanted to talk to him about that, his relationship with some of the Ohio State commitments and recruits, and just generally get a vibe of how his junior season went and where his recruitment is going. Let's get Payton Kirkland on the show. As promised, folks, we are joined by Payton Kirkland. Dr. Jones, is it Dr. Jones? It's Dr. Phillips. Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, Florida. Dr. Jones? I don't know where I'm coming up with that, Payton, but, I guess like most people who are involved in college sports and around it in the last few days, my head is spinning. The world is changing so fast in college football, and I want to start there just because as a recruit, you're the number 15 ranked offensive tackle in the country. Obviously, a very, very highly ranked player. A lot of good teams recruiting you. What have you learned about this business in the last 5 days?
Commit to the program, not a coach, because there's better opportunities elsewhere for other coaches. And, you can never get too comfortable with their decisions. So I really encourage guys to commit to a program rather than just a coach, because, if you're staying within the system and, like every program has their own thing, like Ohio State and Georgia, it's pretty consistent. Not much has changed over the years. So
for you, I mean, that is wise. I mean, it's unfortunately because so many times now what we've seen is kids are chasing coaches instead of programs. That does change the way things are going. For you, coming off of your junior season here, like I said, I think On3 Sports has you as the number 15 ranked offensive tackle in the country. That's where you're at on the composite rankings. What does it mean to you to know that here you are now entering the winter after your junior year, knowing, hey, you've got somewhere to go. You want to get better. Rankings don't matter, but they matter because they tell you where you're at. Right. How do you get better from here? What's the goal for you this offseason?
The goal for me this offseason is to, make a statement. I don't really believe in rankings. I don't believe in, getting your head boosted. I don't believe in the recruiting talk or any of that. All I know and all I have known all my life is work. So I feel like this is going to be a big offseason for me, a big statement year. I didn't really get to participate in anything last offseason, and, it was rough getting into this season. So it's a real statement year for me. I'm expecting myself to increase in all areas. So that's what I'm.
As you look back on this junior season for you, what would you say you did best? What would you say is the one area that as you've watched film, you say, okay, this is something I need to make the jump in?
What I say I did best this season was, really, securing blocks, rather than, being able to drive guys and, finish this year. I finished very well this year, a lot better than I did last year. But I say one thing that I could have worked on, obviously that was obvious this season, is, I'd say ankle mobility and, little things like that, strengthening the little muscles and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got you listed at 6'7", 315 pounds. Obviously, you're a 16-year-old kid, right? Your body's changing. You're dealing with a lot of growth and trying to figure out how to get used to that size. I mean, are you comfortable where you're at now? I mean, you feel like you need to keep refining your body, or is this the weight you want to play at? How do you see that working out?
This offseason, I really, keyed it on losing body fat and bringing it back on as muscle, so I won't have too much to do when I get to the next level.
How do you do that? I mean, it's hard. You're in high school. It's not like you can spend 12 hours a day in the gym. I mean, is that a diet thing? Is it getting up? Is it cardio? I mean, how do the coaches tell you to get there?
I mean, the way I have lost weight over this last year or so, I went down. I was at a bad point where I was at over 350 pounds, and I had to get down before the season. It started with my diet, consistency, waking up and doing the things that you hate like you love them. So that's one thing that I just learned to do.
Football is a game that requires every single day commitment. I mean, you've been on the road, you've seen some schools. You were at Ohio State for the November 20th game against Michigan State. When you go to places like Ohio State and you see the offensive lineman there, does it give you kind of a bar of like, this is where I got to be, or is it like, hey, I'm not going to push myself too hard because here I am a junior in high school?
The way I see things, I'm a competitor. I always see I always see my flaws and I see where I can work at. When I go to these college games and I look at the college guys, only thought in my head is I want to be better, just better. Because as I said before, all I know is work. So
I know that visit to the Ohio State Michigan State game was important for you. Your mom was a big Ohio State fan. I know that from talking to you previously. What was it like for you just to be on the sideline of that game and getting a chance to hang out with guys like Sonny Styles, who I know you've gotten very close to? Just what's that atmosphere like for you as a recruit to be able to take your mom into that?
it was beautiful. She really enjoyed that time there, and it was, kind of nice to see a smile on her face. Things get rough in life, and it's the little things that can make someone's day, absolutely amazing. And relationships are what it's all about. I'm glad to call Sonny one of my brothers, so it's a great relationship to have, especially CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles, other guys like that, Josh Padilla.
When you're at a game like that, obviously you're watching the game, you're watching that, but I mean, how much of it is just about experiencing the atmosphere around you versus how much of it is you watching the minutia and the specifics of the game?
Oh, I say it's about 40% of it. I like to feel the atmosphere. I like to see how intense it is, how intense the players are warming up. I like to see everything. I'm looking for the littlest details, the smallest things. I'm looking for the smallest things, whether it's one player's energy compared to another, how the guys that aren't going to get in the game as soon as the starters are. So I'm looking at how everybody's acting.
I think, and I probably wouldn't have asked you this before the Ohio State Michigan game, but here we are talking afterward. You're a really nice kid. How do you get angry on the field and play mad when you're such a nice kid off the field?
I just recently started doing this. Like before my sophomore year, I was always a nice guy on and off the field, on and off the basketball court. But you got to tap into a different mindset. You got to see yourself at a different place than you actually are. Like when I'm in a game, I'll see myself on the ground. I got to get up. There's people surrounding me. I'm losing a battle, I'm losing a fight. What I'm saying? Some of my mom's life is at risk. Things like that. Just remembering that I have to go out here and perform, and there's people out there doubting me and looking at all the hate, hate comments, hate tweets, people doubting you. You've heard different things your entire life, people telling you can't do this, you can't do that, you're too big, you're too fat, you're too slow, everything, it just comes into mind when I play.
I mean, that as a teenager is not easy to deal with in a normal capacity. And then you deal with social media, which is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. Like, are you at a point yet in your young life, Payton, where you have started to say, I don't need that kind of stuff? I mean, I guess that's really the challenge in this whole recruiting game right now, right? I mean, you guys rely so heavily on social media to talk to each other, to talk to coaches, there's no way to avoid the negativity that comes with it, is there?
Yeah, I'd say there's really no way. It's just about how you take it, I tend to take things very well. I've been doubted my entire life. I've heard things my entire life. I've been underrated my entire life, overlooked, and I still am to this day. And I just use that as fuel. And I really don't tap into the little things that I really don't need in life. Like social media isn't something that I need. Yeah, it's cool to be on. It's fun to be on, I like the environment. Like I like to see different things. But at the end of the day, there's going to be hate, whether it's on social media, whether it's off social media. You can't really avoid it.
Let's go back to that Ohio State visit on November 20th weekend. You'd been to Columbus before. You made a visit in the summer. What was different about this one for you? What did you get a chance to experience or see that, again, I know you're familiar with Ohio State and your mom's a big fan, but what was different about that trip for you?
I'd say it was getting to see the atmosphere, the game environment, how they treated me compared to other recruits. When I was up there for 3 days, and I was the only one there for 2 days. So I was getting the hands-on experience. This time I was able to see how they treated other guys, how they treated their commits, how they treated their players, before and after the game.
Yeah, I think that private time, that personal time is obviously when you start to really understand who people are. And part of having a good relationship with someone is being able to have uncomfortable conversations, or maybe tell them something they don't want to hear, tell you something you don't want to hear, and then still be able to work through it and maintain a relationship. Are you comfortable with like the honesty you're getting from the Ohio State staff about where things are with you, about what they want to still see you get better at? I mean, How do you feel like this goes from here?
You know, I'm all about work. That's all I know. You know, I love the honesty. I love everything that I'm seeing from Ohio State and a few other programs. And, you know, I'm just ready to make a statement this year. That's pretty much all I have to say there.
Yeah, you are. You know, the first time you visited, you were there with Sonny. You were there with Josh Padilla and other guys. Second time you come, they're both committed. And how does their approach to you change once they had made their decision public? And you know, did they ramp up their recruiting efforts, or how did they change?
You know, of course, once you commit, you're trying to get other guys on board. You're trying to get the best of the best character, the guys with the best character, guys that you can bond with and lead with, and alongside. You know, but you know, Sonny, you know, he likes to try to recruit guys, but him and Josh aren't too pushy. You know, him, Josh, and Ty, they're not too pushy on me. You know, all the other schools commits, they're not too pushy. They just let you rock out. You know, so they let you figure out what's best for you, no matter whether it's with them or whether it's elsewhere.
What do you need to see this winter as you head into this? Is kind of a pivotal winter. I'm sure you'll make some winter trips, whether it's down south or getting back up to the Midwest where you're from originally. I mean, where do you feel like you need to still take visits to? Where do you feel like you still have questions to get answered? And as you head into scheduling official visits?
I really want to see who I'm a priority for. You know, I kind of like to ask a few questions where they see me fitting in your program. You know, and another question is, if I was to commit right now, what would be your response and things like that. So I want to see where I'm at on their board, if I'm a priority for them, and I'll probably have to get out to a couple places in the SEC, back to the Big Ten areas, and I definitely got to get out to Texas.
What was it like for you just to be back in the cold weather? I know as a Chicago guy, last time we talked, you said that, you know, you want the cold weather. You enjoy that sort of atmosphere. That wasn't real cold. I mean, heck, the Michigan State day was actually kind of warm. I had to take off my jacket on the sideline a few times. But
Yeah.
like, is that still sort of that Midwest football, that Midwest brand of football, what you want to be a part of?
You know, I'm open to it. I'm open to everyone. I'm open to staying in this hot behind sun every day and slaving. You know, but you know, the cold is big man weather, so
Yeah,
it really doesn't
absolutely.
affect me that much.
It's not good. I mean, I'm trying to stay slim and trim, and winter comes, and all of a sudden I'm like, give me pasta, give me bread, give me all the nasty food I shouldn't be eating.
Right.
Take a 10,000-foot view if we can, Payton, and where you see this going from here. What do you, timeline wise, is this just going to be one of those things when you're going to wake up one day and say, hey, I'm ready to go, because you just wake up and you know, or do you kind of circle a date on the calendar and race to that?
I'm a free flowing guy. I know I'll be dropping the top 5, and that'll be my official visits. You know, I'm probably gonna fall off the map, go ghost for a few months and work. You know, come back an entirely different person, entirely different mindset, entirely different body, and then I kind of want to get myself figured out before I figure out anything else. So recruiting isn't my priority as of right now.
I mean, do you have an opportunity to talk to strength coaches that you talk to and say, hey, how can you help me? What do you give me some input, give me a tip? I mean, what's the best bit of advice you've received from any strength coach about how to do the things you want to do?
Well, the best advice I was given was from Coach Mickey. Is you come in, you put in the work, and you get the results that you want and we want. So it's a pretty simple thing. You know, it's complex behind the scenes and everything. But if you want it for yourself, you're gonna get it.
It is that simple. You know, a lot of times math is pretty much what life is about. How much you put in versus how much you're willing to, you know, how much you need to take out. So very simple. That's why I like you, Payton. You're a very low key, down to earth guy. Nothing too complex here. We're just getting straight to it. That's
Yes,
Payton Kirkland. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology on Lettermen Row. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.